Haiti became isolated. All the nations of Europe, including the United States, refused to do any business with her. No merchants went to her shores. Nobody purchased any of her items. Haiti was left to fend and sustain itself by itself in complete isolation. Why? Because the ideas of freedom that Haiti had fomented was a threat to the establishment, was a threat to the imperial powers of Europe. And so, 20 years after Haiti liberated itself with the hand of God, rumors of an invading French fleet scared the young nation into agreeing to pay France billions of dollars for their freedom, a freedom that the people of Haiti had already gained with blood. And so the stages were set for Europe and for the other nations to continually rob, plunder, and pillage Haiti at every opportunity. And Haiti, they said, would be made an example. Everybody would see the result of defying Europe, the result of freedom, the result of asking to be free. And so from that point on, Europe used everything within its power to make sure that Haiti would be crushed and destroyed economically. And after that was done, they made sure that Haiti would be defamed throughout the rest of the world. But the big picture doesn't involve the few people who are in Haiti. The big picture is that Haiti is Judah. Haiti is a focal point of the house of Israel. This information is too dangerous. This information cannot be leaked out. This information must be suppressed. And so, even though as people of color we are made to hate ourselves, as people of color we are also made to hate Haiti. Therefore, we will never know of her history. Therefore, we will never know how the mighty God himself fought for her and defeated all of Europe, and how the mighty God himself will one day use her again to establish his kingdom and defeat the tyranny in the world. And so all of Europe swore that Haiti must pay. They swore that these ideas that began in Haiti must die in Haiti. And all foreign policy thereafter completely changed, because right now there was a threat that needed to be contained. Right now they have a problem. Right now there is a people of God that said no. There is a people of God that said no more. And so what happened is that right after gaining independence through blood, the island nation of Haiti was made to pay for the independence again with money. About 20 or 25 years after Haiti became free, there were rumors that the French were coming back to invade. Fear of those rumors being true caused the nation of Haiti to agree to pay billions and billions and billions of dollars to France. And so Haiti was forced to pay in gold for what it had already earned in blood. And at that time, all of the nations of the Western world had isolated Haiti, had isolated Haiti. All of the nations of the world had said in their mind and in their policies that Haiti must be made to pay. And so, from that time forward, there has been one of the biggest propaganda campaigns that you can imagine, all aimed at silencing Haiti, all aimed at turning Haiti into a byword and a proverb, all aimed at fomenting hate, not just for Haiti, but hate for all the people of God, all the people of Israel, and all those who would come under the umbrella and the shield of the God of Abraham. When we talk about the lost tribes, we often talk about the Assyrian invasion of 721 BC and the invasion by Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon around 600 BC. But the migration patterns were not that simple. In fact, there is considerable reason to believe that many of the members of the tribes that left Egypt to go into the land of Canaan, those members and their descendants, a lot of them were not there by the time of Solomon. In fact, the tribe of Dan went into Europe around that same time, the time of the Exodus. We know that because they left their mark everywhere. The Danube River in Europe is named after Dan. Dan left its mark all over Europe. Denmark, that's the mark of Dan. You also find members of the tribe of Dan in Ethiopia. And so the migration patterns are a little bit more complicated than simply two invasions and the destruction of the temple. People do not always stay in one location. We have always been looking for greener grass. And also, it's not useful for us today to consider that any tribe, say the tribe of Judah, is only in Haiti. That's not possible. When the people from Judah left, either through invasion or for whatever other reasons, they did not all go as one. They did not hold hands. They did not walk across Africa or Asia or Europe holding hands. People go their separate ways. And so it is impossible for us to say today that one area contains all of the members of a particular tribe. It's more than likely that most nations have members of all the tribes in them.